David with High Performance Stoicism, and I have a question for you. Are you disturbed? That's the question the Stoics ask of all of us, because among all the emotions that we know about and experience and have documented through science, the Stoics are only concerned with one set of emotions, which might be called mental disturbances. They call them pathe, which has been translated as passions or emotions. And by the way, all translators will tell you these are not really great equivalents because the Stoics were talking about a technical concept. So they thought a pathos was a mental disturbance, a irrational emotion that reason cannot rule. So when your emotions have taken over and you're no longer in the driver's seat, that's what they were worried about. And that's what they said. As you move more and more toward virtue, you're reducing their power over you all the time. Now, when we talk about these disturbances, some of them are obviously disturbances. So take rage. You've had a friend who went into a rage, and even though it was your friend, there was nothing you could say to talk this person out of it. That's exactly what the Stoics mean by a disturbance of the mind that reason cannot overcome. But according to the Stoics, there are many subtle disturbances in that they do rule you, but you may not experience it that way. You can only see it sometimes on reflection and see, okay, the reason why I wasn't able to start writing my book was because of fear. Even though in my mind, the way I thought about it, I said, I'm not really afraid. So that's an important thing to think about. Now, what I want to talk to you about today is being in one of these disturbances, because this is something that the Stoics don't talk about enough. Among all the remaining works that we have of the Stoics, they never really give us good tips for how to get out of a disturbance, but even though they talk a lot about how to prevent them or how to train our minds so they don't arise. Here's a great quote from Seneca to start us off. He says, every emotion at the start is weak, but afterwards, as it rouses itself and gains strength by progress, then it gets stronger. So he says that it's easier to forestall it than to forego it, by which he means once you're in it, you're under its influence. You're no longer in the driver's seat, it's driving you. But when it's weak at the beginning, then that's something you can attack. Then that's something you can use reason to reduce its influence, and then it can go away in many cases. So let's think first about what's involved once you're in a state of disturbance, and here's how it's going to work. Anytime you're experiencing a disturbance or a passion, you have let it in by the thoughts that you have had. In other words, you made a certain judgment to what happened in the world or what you thought about, and then that's what made you disturbed. That's what made you angry or any other of these emotions we're talking about. So that means you were inattentive in some way about what was going on in your mind. In addition to that, you didn't use any techniques that could have stopped its growing, stopped its strengthening. And so that means you were not using Stoic techniques at that point. So that's why you're having the disturbance. Let's talk about what to do if, starting off with number one, you are experiencing resentment of another person. So somebody says something to you at work, and it may be somebody that you don't really like to start off, but what they said to you today rubbed you the wrong way. Now, there's a big clue here because what they said rubbed you the wrong way, and people that were around the both of you might not really see the problem. So it's your judgment that made the problem. But the first thing you want to do is, first of all, accept, okay, I let this disturbance form in my mind, and that's important to note. But also recognize I am in it now. It's got me. I've been thinking about what this person said for the whole afternoon, on the way home, and so on. And that's pretty obviously irrational, given that they just said something that rubbed you the wrong way. But ultimately, most people would say, well, it wasn't that bad. But something about it, something about the way they said it really bothered you. Okay. So here's the important thing to think about here and say, is it really valuable for me in my time to be thinking about what this person said? In most cases, your answer will be absolutely not. And just thinking about that, would I like to spend the next hour enjoying myself with my family or reading a good book I'm interested in, or thinking about this person who I already don't have a high degree of respect for? And that will diminish the strength of it as you do it. But here's another thing to note here: don't make any decisions on the basis of being in this disturbance, in this passion. Because if you fire off an email to this person, you know that's probably going to go wrong. And most people won't get what the problem is. All right, so here's another one. And this is related: anger at someone. When you are angry at someone, you know how it is. You can tell reason is not in control. You can tell you're in the grip of something. And what most people do to get really enraged is they think more about it again and again, and they add new details, and they think about other things the person has said. Oh, I did favors for that person. And then you build up this whole drama in your mind, and then you are in a state of rage. And that's one of the clearest passions that reason is out of the picture. So if you have a good friend and that person is in a rage, again, you can't talk them out of it. You just have to physically cool them down and take time to get them out of that state. So, first of all, you want to prevent adding to it. And another thing you want to do is just tell yourself, okay, I got myself into it, and even ask yourself, what judgment did I make that really caused this anger? Because at some point you weren't angry. It's only when you thought, I do so many favors for Bob. How could he say that? All right. So you want to stop the strength of this passion, and you're telling yourself, I'm not going to add any more thought to it. And you've also seen the danger of rage, but here's what you want to do. You want to say, this thought I had, or this appearance that came before my mind, it is nothing to me. It's not important. In the vast scheme of things, I'll forget about this a week from now. And so just anytime that thought comes up about this incident, just brush it away and laugh it off, and soon it will lose strength. Let's talk about one more. And this one is really interesting because this is something that people experience all the time. And if you watch how it governs your life from every angle, in strong ways and in very subtle ways, you will be shocked. And as Seneca said, all men are slaves of fear. We are ruled by our fears. So, fear is a passion that has to do with a future event. You believe something is going to happen, and in order to be fearful, you have to think that outcome is bad. Okay, so my girlfriend is going to dump me because she said, we have to have a talk. And so the talk is about something else. But what's going on in your mind? It's a future event. You're saying it's a bad thing to happen, and that's what creates fear. Since fear has to do with objects in the future, you're going to do something a little different. You're going to say to yourself, number one, you know what to say now. I am creating this in my mind through my judgment. Number two, you're saying, I am in fear. I can describe it in different ways. I can think about it in different ways, but I am experiencing fear. And then what you're going to do is say, I'm not sure what's really happening because it's in the future. And importantly, you want to say, since it's happening in the future, maybe I can't handle it now. I can only handle it when it comes. So recognizing there's nothing you could do about it now, that's a good way to start to reduce the fear. And then shift gears to think about what can I do now to distract my mind from it so I'm no longer judging something that I don't even know might happen and I'm saying it's going to be bad. So, this is something Stoics don't talk about enough because the whole system is geared to diminish these passions, to diminish these emotions by certain techniques as they're arising or to prevent them from arising, and also all the practices that reshape your soul so that you have less of these disturbances. But there's not enough discussion about once I'm in one, what do I do? And this was my little contribution toward that goal. Give me a like, subscribe, give me a comment, and we'll see you in the next video.